So now it's time for steps 7, 8, and 9. Now, if you haven't watched the videos for steps 1 through 6, make sure and check those out. But right now, we're gonna see what happens in our exploration stations. Let's start with step 7. Exploration stations are the highlight of step 7. So here's how it works. We give you 5 different stations. You'll see them on the front of your leader's guide. So this one is called Blind Experience. Let's see, Picture the Story, Sculpt the Story, and Build the Story. There's also a station called Play the Story that rotates in and out. Now I want to break these down for you a little bit. Each week, you'll have 4 stories that basically stay the same. We'll swap 1 or 2 out every now and then to mix it up, but you'll always get 4 of one of our base exploration stations. So let's go through those real quick. The Let's See the Story, that's where kids get to interact with these story cards themselves. So you'll have these at a station and they can just tell the story on their own. They'll just say it in their own words, or they can play with the cards and move them around as they want to and just kind of get into the story and tell the story to their friends or just for themselves. So that's the Let's See. They actually get to touch and handle those story cards. They'll love that. The other one is called Picture the Story. So in every child's discovery guide, there's a picture of the story that they can color. So it's just a station where they can sit down, have some quiet, maybe you have some music going, and they can color in the story. And as they're coloring in the characters, they'll be thinking about what those characters are doing or what they said in the story. And they'll have a nice time to just think about and explore the story that way. We also have one called Sculpt the Story. So at the Sculpt the Story station, kids will sculpt something out of Play-Doh from the story. Maybe it'll be a character, maybe it'll be a prop, something that they saw in the story. Maybe the cane, they'll sculpt that, or the boat in Noah's Ark, they'll make a version of the Ark. They'll just sculpt something from the story. There's also Build the Story. Similar concept, but now they're using blocks to build something from the story. Doesn't have to be fancy, but while they're at their station, they can just manipulate the blocks and make something that they saw in the story. One of our other base stations is called Play the Story. Now this is where you will have a handful of action figures. Like maybe you'll have a Jesus character or other Bible characters, and they can just tell the story and recreate the story with these and move them around and play with them. But here's the fun part. You don't have to have actual Bible characters to play with this. Kids have super awesome imaginations, so you can just use any figures that you have laying around your house, because I know we all have action figures hanging around our house, right? Yes. So you can just find any action figures, put them in a box, and kids can pull those out and recreate the Bible story and play with the story in that way. So those are the core exploration stations that will appear each week. There'll be 4 of those. Then every 2 weeks, you'll get a new bonus station. So for this one, the bonus station is called Blind Experience. Now, usually these bonus stations have a few more things to gather and a few more items and resources that you need to collect. You'll notice with our base station, they're pretty simple. Once you have those materials, you can just leave them in your classroom and they're always good to go. They're always ready to go. We wanted to try to keep it simple so that you're not constantly trying to collect 7,400 different things every single week. But the bonus exploration station often has a few more materials that you'll want to gather up and use for the station. But all those are listed right here on the front of your leader's guide. So the bonus station changes every 2 weeks. All the others are always there. Those are the exploration stations. Now, how you participate in those is up to you. There's 3 basic ways you can do this, all right? Depending on the size of your class and the energy level of your class. Step 1, or the first way to do it, is you set up all the stations, all 5, and kids can move from station to station whenever they want to. So you basically have them set up and you say, all right, we're gonna start the next few minutes, the next 10 minutes. You can pick a station. Kids will pick their own station and they can play at that station for as long as they'd like. If they wanna spend the entire time there, they can. If they wanna spend 2 minutes at every station, they can do that as well. So it's totally up to them how many stations they explore. Now the second way to do it is you will divide up your kids and you'll tell them which station to go to. So you'll put 2 or 3 kids and you'll say, you guys go to this station, and then you'll tell them when to rotate stations. So if you want to have a little more control over where your kids are moving, you can do it that way. You can give them 5 minutes at every station, 2 minutes at every station, whatever works best for your kids and for your time frame. So that's the second way you can pull this off. But there's a third way. You can go through the stations together. So if you have a group of just, let's say 3 or 4 kids, you can just all stay together and you can lead them through each station just as one big group. So you may have 2 or 3 stations set up, and as a group you'll go to the first station. Everyone will get to play there for 5 minutes or so. Then as a group you'll go to the next station. Then as a group you'll go to the next station. And feel free to use as many of the stations as you want based on the number of kids that you have. You don't have to set up all 5. If you just want to set up 2 each week, that's totally fine. Adapt it to fit the purpose and the needs of your kids. So those are the exploration stations. Now at those stations, as kids are playing with that, your leaders can kind of float between stations and engage with the kids and ask them questions. If you go to foundryleader.com, you can download some little table tent cards that you can label each station with. And on those cards, there are some conversation starting questions that your leaders can look at, and they can ask the kids as the kids are playing to kind of help them make discoveries and make faith discoveries. So your leaders can interact with the kids while they are at their exploration stations. So after all your kids have done all their exploring at the exploration station, it's time for step 8, which is called share your discovery. So all the kids are going to gather back around. I'm going to sit down for a little bit. And again, if you need to use the come along song to help you do that, absolutely do it. Everyone's going to sit down and they're going to begin to share some of the things that they enjoyed at their station. They're going to tell you some of the things they explored, tell you a little bit more about the story. If you want to circle back to some of the questions that you talked about in step 6 and see how their answers may have changed since they went through the exploration station, that's a great idea as well. So you're going to do that if you'd like to. Also in step 8, kids are going to have, this is their Discover Guide, okay? It's got their picture of the Bible story. It's got their word on it. It's got their kind of miniature story cards so that they can go home and they can cut these out and they can retell the story themselves. But here's what I want to show you. There's a blank spot right here. This blank spot says, I finished my Bible exploring today. Now this is the time where you get to reward the kids for all their hard exploring work. So you'll take these awesome stamps. This one is of Scout. And you will stamp that spot on their Discover Guide. But that's not the end of step 8. You've got all these exploration stations that probably need a little bit of tidying up, if you know what I mean. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna play the Tidy Up song that's on your DVD or CD player. And this is a song that Scout sings to help kids clean up the room. Now here's the fun part. If you watch the video of this song, there's actually a little timer on the screen so kids know how much time that they have left to finish cleaning up. On the screen, once all the pieces are back up on the shelf, that's when time ends. So kids will have a fun time seeing if they can run around the room and finish cleaning up before the song ends. So you're gonna clean up or tidy up at the end of step 8. So the final step is called the goodbye blessing. So in your leader's guide, we have a little blessing that you can say to each of your explorers before they leave. So you might want to do this as they're leaving, just meet them at the door and tell them this blessing, or while you're still in a circle, if you want to go to each child and tell them that blessing, you can do that. But make sure you tell individually to each child. You can just read the blessing. You don't have to memorize it. It's unique each week, kind of ties into the lesson that they've just experienced. And as a bonus, after you've told them the blessing, you can give them one more exploring stamp for good measure. Stamp it on their hand, because everyone can use extra stamps on their hands. That's step 9. You've done it. You've made it through all 9 steps of leading a Eureka Junior expedition. Nice job. Now, if you want to learn how to lead an expedition for your older or younger elementary age levels, we've got a whole set of videos just for that, so make sure you check those out.